Hi, and welcome to the BookishStitcher podcast. My name is Jeanette. You can find me on Ravelry, Instagram, and Goodreads as BookishStitcher, all one word. I hope you guys have had an amazing 2 weeks since I last podcasted. Not this last week, but the week before, was at the knitting retreat SSK, and so this is going to be a recap of all of that. And I have so much to share with you. Maybe not so much like actual visual knitting for you to look at, but a lot of knitting talk and a lot of wonderful stash acquisitions and some non-yarn stash acquisitions and some just wonderful time to share. So I'm going to kind of do my basic recap how I normally do it, of just kind of going day by day and kind of sharing that experience with you. And there will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, some pictures and some music and stuff so you can kind of get the fun, full experience of it. So I remembered to take pictures this time, yay. And I have my iced David's tea here to help me as I tell you all about all this, because it is insanely hot in Texas right now. It's just like you don't want to go outside, you don't really want to do anything. It's that kind of heat where it's so hot that you become lethargic, and we don't want to like keep our air down to a nice cool level, because that would be ridiculously expensive. So it's hot in here too. But the tea that I have made is some coca colada from David's Tea, and I actually did a really good job making it this time because it tastes pretty good. Sometimes it's hit or miss, and I have a ton of ice in here. But yeah, so the retreat started on a Wednesday, but up until then it was still Tour de Fleece for me and everybody else. And so I was spinning up until then. I did make it, I had a goal of spinning on 5 braids of fiber, five about 4-ounce braids of fiber, and I did make it into the 5th, but I didn't finish it, and I haven't done the plying or anything yet for those, so I have to finish my 5th one, which was a fiber optic gradient. It's this gorgeous raspberry to cream of this like darker raspberry color all the way to this almost whitish cream color, and it had a bamboo merino blend, so it's beautiful, soft, and it didn't spin. Like I thought I was just going to be able to spin from the entire braid without doing any management of the fiber to where I would have to break it up, but it wasn't spinning so well that way, so I broke it up into sections, kind of did my pencil roving so that I could do the colors and kind of get it nice and even. So that's what I did up until the retreat. And then Wednesday morning, bright and early at 4 a.m., I got up and had everything packed and flew off to SSK. And so on the way there, I listened to an audiobook called Sleights of Hand. It's about the neuroscience of magic and why magicians are able to fool us because of the neuroscience with our brains and how our eyes can play tricks on us and with different visual things. And on the plane there, I had this one done a while ago. These are out of some Gnome Acres in the Dean Winchester color, and they're socks for my husband, so they're much too large for my sock blockers. I have other ones, I just didn't grab them. But I had the first one finished forever ago, and then when I got on the plane, I had just finished the gusset part on this, and I worked a little bit on it. I did not finish these on the plane, but since I knit on them on the plane, I just want to show them to you now, and I'll kind of worked on these throughout the weekend, but I did finish them at the retreat. So this is the finished knitting of the retreat. I packed a ton of knitting projects thinking I would knit on a bunch of things, but I didn't. So those socks for my husband are finally done. These have been on the needles forever, so I'm really glad to have them done and have another pair for him. And so then landed from the plane and got my friend Heidi, who was already at the airport waiting, and my friend Abby picked us up, and we went and checked into our Airbnb, which was just barely less than a mile from Scarrett Bennett. And right after that, we promptly went to Craft South, because all the yarn stores and craft stores in the area have a 20% off discount for all people attending SSK. And I had never been to Craft South, so we went there, and I got this gorgeous fabric. I got a couple yards of it to make a skirt for myself. It was a really hard decision picking out fabric there, because there was a ton that I really liked and would have loved to have a skirt in, but I tried to pick something kind of fallish but still like feminine pretty, and this is what I came up with. I believe it is a cotton and steel fabric, but I'm not sure. So this is just going to be a simple basic A-line skirt for myself. that I will hopefully make in the fall. And then the next thing I got there was a do-it-yourself embroidery kit. And they had so many of these hanging up on the wall, and it was really hard to choose from. But this one I think was the most simple of the ones that I liked, and I just wanted something really easy because I tend to not finish my... I've done some cross stitches that have not ever been finished. I don't know if I've ever done... I haven't done embroidery in a while, but in this is the hoop and the needle and the pre-printed fabric, which is a definite bonus for me, embroidery floss, and the stitching notes. And so this is a cactus with a little bird peeking out from inside. This is kind of perfect for Texas. But that's all I got at Craft South. After Craft South, we headed to this place. It was right near there, and it was Taco Bar, and they have little street tacos, which are they call them 2 or 3 bite tacos. They're about this big, and they had the wonderful vegetarian options. I got cauliflower, which was so good. These roasted cauliflower, soft, or not, just street tacos, and then falafel tacos. So there's little bites, and they were so yummy. And then after that, right across the street was, I'm not gonna remember the name of this, but a coffee house. So we went across and got coffee, because I was feeling the 4 a.m. wake up time last night. So we went across there. I knit a little bit more on my socks for my husband, had our coffee, and then we went over to Scarrett Bennett and checked in for the SSK goodie bag. So this is the goodie bag this year. I love it so much because I think I will actually use this one. A lot of times when I get goodie bags from retreats, I just donate them. But this is the over the body style one, which is my preferred way to have things. And so this might become a library book bag. But this is the bag, and it's denim. It has these wonderful side pockets. And now there were lots of options of things that you could get included in your goodie bag. And I'm not going to show you everything because there's lots of little coupons and yarn samples and things like that, and I'm not going to show all those. But there was just really one fun thing of a scale, a little portable scale that you could take with you everywhere. I don't have one of these, so I was very excited to get something that I will use and that I didn't already have. And then I got both the fiber, which is Into the Wool Tinkerbell's Unmentionables. This made me laugh so much, the name Tinkerbell's Unmentionables, but that's the fiber. And it is a Falkland, 4 ounces, and it's beautiful. I am not sure if I've ever spun Falkland right now. I want to say that I haven't, but I could be completely wrong about that. And then the yarn for this is beautiful self-striping fishnets. And it's at 6s and 7s. And it's just a merino nylon blend. And I actually got to have lunch with the dyer behind Fishnets one day, and she was very sweet, and I accidentally mentioned that I was knitting with her yarn color, the Canadiana colorway, and she had a very funny story about that of Susan B. Anderson got the colorway and knit some socks with it, or was knitting socks with it, and messaged her and said, I'm going to show this on Instagram, you might have your sales blow up. And she said that she thought, oh, okay, well, I'll put up pre-orders, so if anybody wants. And she sold like over 400 pre-orders of that color, and she was just dying more and more and more of it. And so I was like, sorry for bringing that. You could tell that she had loved getting so many orders, but that she probably did not want to be dyeing that colorway again soon. I can't imagine dyeing 400 of one specific color. So this was the yarn, and I think there were 150 skeins of this because that's about how many attendees there were. And then also I think you could get water bottles and all kinds of different things, but I chose a t-shirt, and this fabric is so soft, and it is a perfect color, one of the colors I like, and it says Super Summer Knit Together 2017. I almost wore this, but it's really hot, and so I have like my lacy shirt on because it's so hot. But that is a really great shirt, and I tried it on. It fits wonderfully. And then what else came in the goodie bag? Well, I can't remember anything else. I didn't bring anything else down to show you, but I did get some wonderful gifts from friends that I got to see there. So I was going to show those really quickly because after I got the goodie bags, kind of went around and said hello to everyone, which was just for me, that's the best part, because these are friends that I hadn't gotten to see in 2 years, and some of them are friends that I just really love so much, and just getting to be around them, even if, you know, even if we didn't like say anything and talk much, just being around them is one of the happiest things for me. And so my friend Lori, Love Pretty Yarn, gave me a pink waffle bag that has owls on it, and I just absolutely love it. So thank you again so much, Lori. And it's like reversible, and these colors are just wonderful. And as soon as she gave it to me, I took out the bag that I had for my husband's socks and put his socks in here, so I get to carry it around and all weekend. I absolutely could not have picked out, like, she knows me so well, I could not have picked out a better bag for myself. So thank you so much, Lori. And this is my second pink waffle bag, and I love them for carrying around knitting, so this is perfect. And then I got from my friend Amy Loris, she brought me this, and I've been using it all the time. Oh, it smells so good. It's peach, and it's from near her, it's Peach Lotion Bar, and it's called Lane Southern Orchards, and it's lanesouthern.orchards.com, but they do a lot of peach stuff, and it's just amazing. I've been rubbing it on my elbows like, So thank you so much again, Amy. And then your favorite purple lover and mine. Why does that keep pinging? Your favorite purple lover and mine, Tessa Roberts gave me. She said she saw this and thought of me, which is so sweet of her. It's a little Audrey book, and it has just amazing Audrey quotes in it. Trying to find one. There's just so many cute things in here. Different things about Audrey and different little. So thank you. That's gonna go on my shelf, my bookshelf. And then my awesome friend Jo Sockmonster, who's an amazing piano player and singer, and she always makes up fun, hilarious songs that like have people crying, laughing so hard they're almost crying at SSK. And so she gave me this awesome bag, and in it is some yarn and a postcard, which I love this postcard. It's kind of going on my fridge right after I podcast. And so I think, oh, and my friend Tiffany gave me some Kinder Eggs for my kids and some tea and all kinds of different fun Canadian chocolate stuff, which we brought back for my daughter. So that was amazing. Thank you so much, guys. And I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting right now, and I apologize. So then after that, a big group of us went to Urban Cookhouse for dinner, and Nashville surprised me this time. I've never tried to, which is a shame, go out and seek out like local restaurants that aren't chains. And so we did that this time, and it was a really big added bonus. So we went to Urban Cookhouse, and I had veggie quesadillas, which were so wonderful, packed with tons of veggies, so much that the veggies were falling out everywhere. And they were so happy to see us there. So if you are in, the people were just so friendly. If you are in the Nashville area, I would definitely recommend checking out Urban Cookhouse. And the great thing about that was that there were two friends of ours that were not coming to SSK, but that were able to come and have dinner with us. And we took up 3 giant tables in there, and 10 I think it's TENN Chick, I hope I'm getting that right. And then Mary Gail came and had dinner with us, and it was just so much fun. And then after that were the opening ceremonies, where they tell kind of what's going on for the SSK retreat. And I was so tired from the 4 a.m. flight that I barely even knit on that. I think I was just kind of sitting there like, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake. And as soon as that was over, we headed back to the Airbnb. I read a couple pages in my book and then went to sleep. And when I got to my room, there was a sweet present for me waiting for me from one of my roommates. And Heidi knew that I loved this color that she had dyed called Lavender Moon. And so she had given me a gradient of her Lavender Moon color, which is just stunningly beautiful and works with a shawl pattern called Dead Easy that she designed. So thank you so much, Heidi. I was so happy to see this. It's so soft and pretty. These are just my colors. I love like the blues and purples and grays and green. And so that was the first day, Wednesday. The second day on Thursday, woke up, drove the like 4 minutes. It was a walkable distance, but it is so hot this summer. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or whatever. It just feels too hot to bear. And we still have August to go. But drove there, had breakfast, walked. We did walk then, which is probably about the same equivalence from the house. We walked to Starbucks because had to have Starbucks. And then my iced coffee. I normally drink warm coffee in the mornings, but it was iced while we were there. It's just too warm. And so then walked back, and that entire morning, my friend Abby and I, Heidi had a class. My friend Abby and I spent knitting swatches for our Friday morning finishing class because there were so many swatches to knit, and I tried to get them done beforehand, before I left for the retreat, but I didn't get them done, and there's just so many swatches. And so we spent the entire Thursday morning knitting swatches. Then we had lunch, and then we had class. And the class that we had Thursday afternoon was with Lethal. Her name is Lee Meredith, and she does a lot of really interesting construction design projects. And so the class that we had with her was sideways, cast on, and bind off. So she taught methods of binding off or casting on to where you can use a stitch marker to create, to leave have a marker to where you can on one side be creating new stitches and the other side be working the pattern, and the new stitches that you're creating could be for picking up later. Now, she didn't say that it would be good for a button band somewhere where you need structural integrity, but a thing on like a shawl or something, then that's perfect. And I had come across, I let my friend Abby pick all the classes because I just wanted to hang out with her as much as possible because she's one of my best friends who used to live in San Antonio but now lives in North Carolina, so I haven't gotten to see her in forever. But I was familiar with this from the Melanie Berg pattern that I knit called Taine, T-A-I-N-E, the shawl that the colors kind of didn't like each other. But so I had done that technique before from that, but it was still really interesting to take the class, and she was an adorable teacher, so funny. She's, you know, she was just, it was very cute, her talking to us about all the things, and we did 3 swatches, and well, we were supposed to do 3 swatches, I think 3 or 4. I finished all the ones that we were supposed to do in class. I know a lot of people didn't get through all of them. I made smaller swatches because I had smaller size needles and yarn, and a lot of people had worsted weight, so they got there a lot quicker than I did. So I finished all 3 of those, and that was fun class, but it was after lunch and we were kind of really tired, still catching up on sleep. So after that, we went back to the Airbnb for a nap. It's a wonderful thing about the friends that I roomed with is they were all down for naps in the afternoon, and it's vacation. If you're tired, take a nap, I say. And so we went back and took a nap, and then woke up and went back to Scarrett Bennett and was asking around for people like, where do you want to go for dinner? And another huge group of us went out to Mellow Mushroom. And at Mellow Mushroom, I don't ever really drink, but everybody else was having drinks. I think I would have been the only person at this giant table not drinking. And so I asked Cranky Creations, Steph, to recommend, like, okay, if I don't like alcohol, what's a drink that I would like? And so she suggested a ginger beer, and I had that, and it was actually really good. It did not taste like alcohol, so I enjoyed that. And we had pizza, and we all just hung out and knit a little bit more. And I took a picture of that, which will be at the end of the episode with the other pictures. And it was just great. It was a lot of fun. And then after that, we went back, and there was the tasting room, or tasting rooms, where there are rooms that are full of different knitting tools and spinning tools and whatnot, and you can go and look. So I went and tried different needles, a couple, but I'm not really picky about my needles. I don't want terrible needles, but once you get up to good to nice to the nicest, I'm okay with a medium price range versus a really high price range needle. And I love the needles that I have. But there was the spinning area, and my friend Abby has been wanting to take up spinning for a while, So we kind of tried out a whole bunch of spindles with her. And I tried in one of the Acrework spindles. Those things are amazing. They just spun for so long. I didn't get one because I'm not in the market for any more spindles. I don't really use the ones I have. But she really fell in love with a Turkish spindle. So she got to try that out and all the others, and then she knew at the market what she wanted. So that was great. The tasting room was wonderful for her for that. And then again, it wasn't too late. It might have even been before 9. Packed up, went back to the Airbnb, read a little bit of a book, took my shower at night. I like to shower at night when I'm on retreats. And so then went to bed, woke up Friday morning, had breakfast, and went to the Margaret Radcliffe class that needed all the swatches. And I went unprepared. I had not finished all my swatches. I felt like I never have had this feeling in school because I was always the prepared one. And I think my high school self, if I had done this, would have had anxiety, like panic attack, and been having to go to the nurse's room. But I was kind of freaking out that I hadn't done all of my swatches, but I was like, I'm just gonna sit in the back of the room and try to finish this up while she's doing like the beginning of class. Margaret was hysterical, so funny. I don't know, she did walk around at one point when I hadn't finished my swatch, and I felt really kind of guilty, and she told me, she's like, you're gonna need to finish your swatch. And so I was like, oh, I feel like a kid that just got in trouble in class. And so I did manage to finish most of them, and my friend Abby had an ingenious suggestion, so we kind of worked that out. But I didn't bring it to show you, but I knit a ton of swatches, and she had us assemble the swatches in a way that kind of made this giant, almost a giant cross, but it was just different ways of like mattress stitch. Well, mattress stitch wasn't on it, but like 3 needle bind off. I can't even think of weaving it, garter stitch. There were tons of different methods. And so you seamed all of these swatches together or knit them together to form this giant thing. And then she had another swatch. We were supposed to have done 2 of these ribbing pattern swatches, but my friend Abby had the brilliant idea to just knit one and seam the sides together. So that saved me. And so on that one, she had us mattress stitch it together, and mine ended up looking like a Sharpie cozy. I don't have it. But the entire class was worth it for me because I learned what I've been doing wrong in mattress stitching. My mattress stitch I learned from a book, just 2-dimensional, couldn't really, see all the dynamics of where everything was going. And so I learned from a book, but my mattress stitch never looked as perfect as I'd see other people's. And it always bothered me, like, why, what am I doing wrong? And she came by and I had done up my mattress stitch, and she was like, this looks a little funny. Do you mind if I undo the entire thing to see what you did wrong? And as she was undoing it, she's like, oh, you didn't go straight up. You went up and over a little bit, up and over a little bit, which created it not a perfect seam. So I learned how to do it, and then she showed me and had me do it in front of her, and I can now mattress. I feel like a real knitter, even though I've been knitting for forever, and I can do all kinds of crazy cables and lace and Fair Isle color work and intarsia, but I could never mattress stitch perfectly, and now I can, and I have no fear of it. And I'm excited because there's a sweater upstairs, the Paloma that I've been knitting on that needs mattress stitching, and I can do it like a boss now. So the entire class was worth that for me. It was just beautiful when it lines up and you pull it and it just zoop, and it's perfect. I can't tell you how happy I am that I now know the magical secret of mattress stitching and how to do it correctly. So after class, we had lunch, and then Scarrett Bennett, the SSK retreat, provides breakfast and lunch. You're just on your own for dinner. So after lunch, we were just kind of hanging out, knitting, and then we all decided to go to visit the other yarn stores. And I had met Rachel, who is Ardoos, R-D-O-O-S, I believe. But it was so fun to meet her because we were in line for the bathroom in the midst of class, and she was like, is this an awkward time to introduce myself to you? I watched the podcast and I was like, is this an awkward time to hug you? So I gave her a hug. She introduced herself in the bathroom and I hugged her in the bathroom. So hi, Rachel. And she came with us. Abby driving her van, and me and Heidi and Rachel in the car. And we drove first to House of Yarn. And like I said, 20% off, which is amazing. So I got my first ever, I've been wanting this yarn for so long, but I've never seen it in person and got to feel it or pick colors. And I've never been able to get it for 20% off. So I got my first ever Plucky. It's really soft. I'm so excited about this. They're both in the Primo fingering, and I got Eat Cake and Enchantment. And I got these just because I love these colors. And when everybody was doing the Starting Point Mystery Cal, so a lot of my friends were like, oh, you should join in. And I looked through my stash, and I did not have enough solids and colors that went together to do this. So I need more solids in my stash. I'm not naturally drawn to fingering weight solids. So I now have more in my stash. So that was what I got at House of Yarn. And then we went to Bliss Yarns, and I was so busy talking to a couple of friends at Bliss that I did not even look around the store or get anything. I was so busy talking to my friend Tiffany, knitting at Tiffany, and then Amy Florence, who dyes the Stranded Dye Works, Stranded Fiber Works. One of those. I got it in a package from Knitting of France a while ago, I believe. But she was very sweet, and my friend Tiffany is awesome. I always love talking to her. So we're trying to conceive of ways we can convince our friend Erin of Bling Your Strings to come to the next one as like a thing, as like a birthday Christmas present, because I really want her to come to this and just to get to hang out with her in person sometime. So after that we went back to Scarrett Bennett and kind of started knitting for a while, and then bam, migraine hits me to where I was about to throw up. I couldn't really see very well. I was feeling horrendous, and oh my gosh, I'm going to try to remember Instagram name, but I can't. GCM and then some numbers. Oh, I wish I had my phone. But she helped me so much. Maybe I'll insert it in a second, like insert a clip of, I can look up her name. But she helped me so much with like information about stuff that she uses for migraines. But we went, as soon as like it hit, I knew we had to go back to the Airbnb, and my friends were really sweet about that. So we went back. I took way too much medication to try to kill it, and went and took a nap, and that actually worked, which was I was so thankful for. And we woke up from there. It was kind of too late to go meet up with a whole bunch of people for dinner, and there had been a place that we'd all wanted to try called the Grilled Cheesery, and so the three of us went there, and I loved the Grilled Cheesery so much. I had one with avocado and tomato and not lettuce, just avocado and tomato, and an egg in it, because I didn't want to get any meat in mine because I'm a vegetarian. And they had vegan ice cream. I love vegan ice cream. I used to be vegan a couple years ago, so that was so yummy. And then after that, we went back for the try it on room where everybody brings stuff and tries it on. And somebody had knit something in my yarn, and it was a shawl. It was Lori Love Pretty Yarn had knit something in my yarn, and it was there, and it was so great to see. It was Sabrina colorway, just the standard Sabrina, not the Pops of Color Sabrina one. And I was so happy to see it. And my friend Amy was knitting with my yarn there, and Rachel was, and then Shih Tzu's Rock, I met her on Saturday. She was knitting with my Winter Skies colorway, so it was so great to see my yarn out in the wild. Thank you so much, guys. And then, so at the Try It On room, there was this amazing octopus, or as I love to say, cephalopod sweater that was in like a dark slate gray with this turquoise color for the octopus. And the amazing Evil Twin 2 had knit it. And my friend, when I said I knit, took a picture of me in it, and I have to knit that sweater someday. It was amazing. And Science Friday, which is a podcast I listen to, has a they call it cephalopod. That's where I get what I say that from. Cephalopod week, where they talk about different facts about it, and that would be great to, I should submit that to them for Cephalopod week. A picture of me in the sweater. Okay, yes, that's I'm excited. But I won't be having that picture in here at the end too. Now, it was very hot in Nashville, and I'm wearing a wool worsted weight sweater, so I'm super glistening in that picture. But it was such a fun night, and I stayed a little bit later that night, not too late. But then it went back to the Airbnb and went to bed with hopes and dreams of the marketplace the next day. We're all so excited. And so I woke up the next morning and I was texting Abby. I was saying, Mark, happy market day. We were in opposite sides of the house texting each other, happy market day. And so got ready, went and had breakfast, then did the daily walk to Starbucks. That was our exercise time. Walk to Starbucks, get iced coffee, walk back, and then got in line for the market. And we weren't in line for too long. Went into the market, and I'm trying to think what I got first. So I have, oh yes, I have my stuff from the market right here. The first place I went was Gail's Art, because I know she does awesome sock blanks, and I know that they're gone fast and that they have a lot of special ones that I would want to see. So this, free with some of my hair. No, but I got from Gail, I got this gorgeous, I love dragons, but I got this one. It says, a dragon is not a slave. Now this is apparently a Game of Thrones reference. I am the only human being on the planet that does not watch Game of Thrones. I can't do violence against women. It is a trigger point for me. It makes me very emotional. And yeah, I also read the first book of the Game of Thrones for a book club, and one of my friends, when we got to the book club to just discuss the first book, one of my friends had become obsessed with the series and had read all 3 that were available at that time. This was years ago. And I asked her, I said, do they keep killing off your favorite characters? And she said yes. And I said, okay, I'm done. I'm not gonna read anymore. So I haven't seen that, but I love these colors. Again, this is like every Jeanette color, green, purple, and blue. There's not gray, but other than that, every Jeanette color that I love is in here. So after I got that, I think I went to, let me see, it's just gonna be piling stuff up around here. Maybe, yes, okay. I went to Lollipop Yarns, and I was looking for the Lion Sleeps Tonight colorway for my husband, but they didn't have it. But I knew I wanted to get sock stuff for him, and I got this color called Troublemaker, which he's not a troublemaker most of the time. But I got this, and it's gray and like a olivey lime green and a kind of sea blue and a denim, and it's so soft. It's already pre-wound. She's amazing. And so I got one of those, and then I wasn't gonna get anything for myself. I originally planned not to get anything for myself, but then I was thinking like, okay, the money that I had for the market was my Christmas money, or most of my Christmas money from my mom. She was like, Christmas in July. So it's like, if I have my Christmas money, I should at least get myself a couple things. So I allowed myself to get something from Lollipop for me, and this is called River Dance. And the thing I love about this is it's so subtle. There's more hair, more Jeanette hair, but it has this very pale indigo denim colorway, and then there's a gray with bits of purple and the same indigo and almost a yellow, highlighter yellow. It's very interesting, but it's very subdued, which it just, if ever I look at a color and automatically seeing it just relaxes me, I know that that's a good color for me to have. So that was from them. And then, let's see, okay, next I went to Tuft Woolens, and some of this has already been sent on to friends because I was sending off some packages. But I got one of their Martha's, and there will be pictures of Martha at the end. I took a couple pictures, but I took a few pictures from the market, but I got one of their sock sample packs. And then I got soap. So I use her soaps when I am doing my yarn for my business, so there's like a business expense. But then I got for me, for in the bath, what are you called? I got espresso vanilla and red currant and mandarin. So fresh and so reviving. So Here's 2 soaps, and then I got the same scents for Open Skies yarn, for dyeing yarn, rinsing it and washing it. And they smell beautifully. Probably not together, I'll be using them separate, but they smell wonderful, and it was great to see Martha again. And so at that point, I was done. I had spent about half the money from my mom, but we were gonna go have lunch. I kind of needed, my friend Amy, who I was walking around with, kind of needed a break. It was, you know, overwhelming. There were a lot of people. It was really kind of warm in there, and so we left and just went out and knit and talked with friends a bit, and then went to lunch. And I came back and I was ready again to go into the fray and get some more yarn and spend the rest of my Christmas and July money. So where did I go next? I went and got, because I still wanted to get stuff for my husband sock-wise, I got this. And it's from Jinx Yarn, and it is her sport weight self-striping in the sweater weather. And I think my husband, more of my hair is just falling out. So I got this for him, and I think he's gonna love it. It's so soft, and it's going to be great colors and wonderful for around the house socks. I will definitely, because the yardage isn't that much, since it's a sport weight, I'll definitely have to get something for heels, toes, and cuffs. But yes. And then I could not stop obsessing over the Lollipop. This is where I got most of my stuff. The Lollipop shawl kits. And there was this one I really wanted. It was these beautiful like pinks and snowy whites and grays. And I was just in love with it, and it was in her MCN. And I was like, I'm gonna go back and get that. And I went back and it was gone. I'm like, oh no. So instead I got, which is probably better because that would have been stretching the budget a little bit because it was 3 skeins. I got a 2 skein one that I still love. But this is not an MCN. This is just, this is a merino nylon. So it's a lot more economically priced. There's 2 skeins, and this is Tea Party and Tealy. And it's going to make a really fun shawl. Hopefully, my friends did suggest to me to wash a bit of this beforehand to make sure before I knit it together with this and don't have a catastrophe on my hands. But I will use a color catcher with this as well. So, and then I was reminded that I had not gotten a podcast prize yet. So I went and got, for you guys, this skein of the Fiber Seed in their Sprout Decay. I kind of tried to do a color theme here. So we have this skein as a prize. Oh, this is a prize package. And this, I wanted to pick something from the goodie bag so you guys could have a piece of that. And this is a, I mean, I guess you could wear it as a choker, but it's really a wrist bracelet thing. So you wrap it up twice and you wear it around your wrist. But it goes color-wise. And then some red currant and mandarin, that smell that I was saying I really loved, tuft ones, and in the same, in a color that matches the Gelby Stitch Stopper. I got some of these for friends too. Gelby Stitch Stopper. You put your needles, you put it on your needles so that your stitches don't fall off. So this will be a prize that will be going up in the Ravelry group for you guys, because I always like to get something to share with you guys, and that was just so much fun. And the prompt for that will be, I don't know. I will write it there, but just go to the Ravelry group for the Bookish Stitcher podcast and read what the prompt is, and you can enter that way. And then the last thing that I got, because I had seen this and I kind of really wanted it, but I wanted it in a smaller size, just price-wise. And so it's like, if I get this, I'm gonna have to go a little bit, spend a little bit of my own money instead of using just what my mom had given me for Christmas. But then, oh wait, one more thing. Last little thing. This is a rain cloud bag, and it's, I kind of got it for me, and my daughter's going to steal this, let's be honest. I got it because I liked the print, but it was super cheap, and she's so sweet. This is Hopkins Studios. I got to spend a lot of time talking to her, and she was so much fun. And it's rain clouds. I love rain clouds, as you guys know. Rain is my favorite, and we are now in drought water restrictions, so I wish it would rain. It has not. The clouds have been acting like it's going to rain for a while, but it has not actually rained. So back to the thing where I had to spend some of my own money because it is so enormous. I got a fat squirrel fiber bag, and it's just so neat. It's this navy-ish color with these pops of this like pink and a lighter, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's nature themed. There are mushrooms, there are chrysalis, there are ants, there are moths, caterpillars. I don't believe there are any spiders. That would have probably made me be like, nope, we're not doing this. No spiders. So yes, this is an Amy Beth bag, and it's enormous. It's probably the biggest sweater bag I have ever owned. So that was all of the market purchases. So many things, so many goodies, and my mom doesn't often really watch the podcast because the internet and my mom are not friends, even though like there are people that are decades older than her that love the internet. Whenever I say that, people always think my mom is a lot older than she is, but my mom's in her 50s, but she does not like the internet. So she doesn't really watch the podcast, but thank you again, Mom, if you do get a chance to watch us for my Christmas in July. You're so sweet. And so after the market was over, a bunch of us again went to, where did we go though? Fido, because they were known to have good vegetarian sandwiches. The sandwich was okay. I only ate about half of it, but the real gem there at Fido was their different coffees. And we went out, Ann Budd, the designer, went with us to dinner. It was funny, people kept calling her the Ann Budd, and she's one of the most hilarious people I've ever met in person. And it's again like you're laughing so hard that you're trying not to cry or spit your drink out of your nose. And but the coffee there, they had different specialty coffees. So my friend Amy got impeachment, and it was coffee with peach notes, peach flavors, and I got, was it called the Earl of London or something like that, but it was the Earl Grey tea with coffee and cream, and it was amazing, and I need to learn how to recreate it to have here at the house because it was iced and it was perfect. So had dinner there, got back just in time for the closing ceremonies, and on which I knit on one of my son's socks. It's upstairs. I didn't bring all my knitting done this week because I already knew this was going to be a long podcast, just recounting everything. And so I knit on my son's sock, and then they do door prizes, and there were more songs by Joe, and I didn't win any door prizes, which was okay. I won door prizes the very first year I did SSK. I went to SSK. The last 2 years that I have been there, I have not won any door prizes. But I was really happy because my friend Abby won door prize, my friend Rachel won door prize, and there was someone there, I don't remember their name, but they had been going every single year, all 5 or 6 years, and they had never won a door prize, and they won one this time. So I thought that was wonderful, and it was just so exciting. And really, I don't care about winning door prizes. I just, there's the market I got to go to class with amazing teachers, and I got to give my friends hugs and sit and talk with them. And that is a treasure beyond belief and such a blessing. So I was just happy with that. I just felt beyond, I'm one of those people, like, I am more happy when my friends get stuff. Like I'm happy for them. I feel like, yay, I want my friends to be happy. And if my friends aren't happy, I feel sad. So I was glad that my friend Abby won the Sherlock Knits book and stuff like that. So it was great. But I think that's everything, almost, I guess. Opening ceremonies, we went back, gave hugs to people that were leaving, went back to the room, read a little bit, got up, had breakfast, said more goodbyes, which goodbyes are so sad. And yeah. And then on the way to the airport, well, we sat in it for a while because my plane wasn't for a little bit. And Lee Meredith, the designer who I'd had the class with, she had an airplane ride about the same time as me, so she asked for a ride back to the airport. So my friend Abby gave that to her, and we had lunch with her and got to talk with her some more. Found out she's a vegetarian too. And so it was just wonderful to get to talk to her. And then went to my flight, and this flight on the way back was horrendous. Like, I almost feel like I have PTSD from the flight, because I used to look at planes in the sky and think, oh, I wonder where they're going, and oh, this is so exciting, somebody's going on a trip. Now I see a plane in the sky and I feel like I can't breathe and I want to throw up. And I even had my wonderful rosary from Pin, Hook, and Needles lady, so thank you so much for that. But even like that flight was so bad that even that didn't help. And yeah, things were falling out of seats. The turbulence was terrible. We were coming back into San Antonio through clouds, and it didn't rain. We didn't even get rain out of it, but there were just storm clouds that would not release their rain. And it was, even like recounting it to you makes me, my anxiety is like at a 9 right now. So we're gonna take a drink. I will need to be fully sedated before I can get on a plane again. Fully sedated, like, yeah, like completely put under. It was a lot. Yeah, it was bad. Let's just say that, and let's not talk anymore about the flight. So I got home, I get to hug my kids, and that was so wonderful, and squeeze them. My daughter squeezed all the yarn. I was so happy about everything. And it was just a wonderful time. And Nashville is within driving distance, so maybe that's the answer for me. So that was my entire retelling of the SSK retreat. And now it's time for the book this week. So speaking of a person who hates flying, Shirley Jackson's biography, which was written by Ruth Franklin, and it's called Shirley Jackson, A Rather Haunted Life. Now, you would think, reading a biography on her, that I would like have read all her works, because she's written 6 or 8 novels and some kids' books and stuff, but you would think if I were going to read an enormous doorstopper on this woman, that I would be very familiar with her work, but I'm not. I think I've read 1 or 2 of her. I read We Have Always Lived in the Castle, and then I've seen The Haunting movie, and I enjoyed it. But I wanted to know more about her. I just picked this up. I felt almost like drawn to it, like I need to read that. I don't know why. We're at Book People in Austin. My husband and I were there for a little anniversary thing weeks and weeks ago, and I saw this and I was just like, I need to read that. And I kept like reading it, and then I'd have to put it down for something and then read. And I just couldn't stop reading it whenever I'd pick it up and be able to have time to read. And so this is the life of Shirley Jackson, and it is tragic and sad and wonderful, and I'm not going to tell too much, but she was a writer in the 50s, late 40s, 50s through early 60s, and she had a tumultuous relationship with her mother. Her mother, didn't matter how talented she was, how smart, how intellectual, her mother only cared about how she looked. And her mother would always tell her, you don't look good, you're too fat, you're not pretty enough, you need to take more care of how you look, and all through her life. And so she had this insecurity built into her because of that. And her husband was not faithful to her, and she kind of knew that he did not care to be faithful to her going into it. I think she thought that marriage would kind of change him, which of course that never works. But she, got married to this man named Stanley Hyman, who was Jewish, and he was Jewish, and they were together during the time of World War II. Now, they were in America, so, but I mean, even though we think about America having not been like Germany during World War II and the awful things that occurred during the Holocaust, there was still a lot of unpleasantness that was happening towards Jewish people then, and it's not talked about. Like, they weren't allowed to rent houses in certain places, or certain people would not rent them and they couldn't go certain places. But she used her maiden name, Shirley Jackson, for all of her writing, and her married name, Mrs. Hyman, for all of her other stuff. And he was also an intellectual, her husband, and he was a critiquer of different books, a book critic for the New Yorker for a long time, but he was never as successful as she was, and I think that kind of contributed to some of their problems, as he felt jealous because she was the one that made a lot of the money. But because of the emotional instability she felt with her husband and everything like that, she wrote books that dealt with women characters that were falling apart. And the thing that I love about her writing is that she used the house or the dwelling where the people live as kind of a reflection on the inner feelings of the character. So if the house is crumbling, the mental stability of the character is crumbling as well. So she wrote spooky, eerie, and at the time they were called horror stories, right? Now you would not consider it horror because the horror genre is actually a lot scarier and less creepy. But for the time, these were, and she wrote The Lottery, which a lot of you might have had to read for school. But these were considered shocking stories. And people kind of had trouble reconciling the two different sides of her, this horror writer versus this mother who wrote like silly comical things about raising her children and the antics that they got up to. Like she wrote a book, Life Among Savages, which is a book of like funny stories about her kids. And it was kind of like the first mommy blog, and people loved Life Among Savages. It sold a ton. People also loved her other books, and I plan to go through and read every single book that she's ever written because there are not that many and they're not that long. And I just really love this. She struggled a lot with insecurity, and she often wondered whether she would have been as good of a writer if she wasn't being tormented by her mother. And like her mother wrote horrible things to her, and her husband was just like, basically like, he would get mad if she was writing a letter to a friend. He was like, you need to go work. Every letter that you're writing to a friend, you're wasting money. You could be earning more money for us. You need to go earn more money. And this I think is why A Rather Haunted Life. She was also into the occult, which isn't a huge part of the book, I felt like, but it is in there a little bit. And I learned so much more about her. I also learned so much more about things from the time period and things I didn't know. And I learned about Christian Scientists, which I didn't really know that was a huge thing during this time, that her grandmother was a Christian Scientist, and kind of different beliefs of that. And it was just fascinating. And why don't I read more biographies? I loved this. I loved this so much, and I'm definitely going to read more biographies, read more of her works. And I am really, because it's so hot outside and I'm feeling kind of lethargic. This is such a long podcast. I've been in a major knitting slump. I have not been in the mood to knit at all. But in lieu of knitting, I have been reading a ton. And my husband, son, and I are going to have a 24-hour readathon next Saturday, where we try to read as much as we can in 24 hours. We've been picking out our books, and whoever wins it is going to get like a special thing. So I may next week do a clip of like a little separate clip, separate from the podcast, on this channel of our readathon, talking about like what we're reading and things like that. I think it might be a lot of fun because my whole family is just on high reader mode this summer, which is lovely. And I love that we can do that together as a family. But that's everything this week. So if you like books about women, like books about writers, I found her writing process stuff really interesting. And she would go places like to the doctor, and they would say, in the occupation blank, they would write down like housewife, and she'd be like, no, I'm a writer. And they were like, we're just gonna write housewife because of the time period. And she made more than her husband. She was bringing in most of the money, but people refused to write anything other than housewife in her occupation thing because women were housewives at that time. So it's just very interesting kind of reflection on the time period. And you'll never guess how many books they had in their house. Are you guessing right now? I've been asking everybody. So it's higher. 25,000 books, over 25,000 books. They had a 3-story house, and I think the 3rd floor was entirely devoted to their books. And she died relatively young, because she was a very heavy drinker, very big eater, very heavy smoker, and was on a lot of pills because towards the end of her life she did develop very intense agoraphobia and she couldn't leave her house but for over a year. And like I was saying on the plane stuff, she flew on a plane once and it terrified her so much she never got on a plane again. But she would drive a car, and she did even have a time period where life was too terrifying to do that. But yeah, that is, I finished this last night super late. I couldn't stop reading it yesterday. This is Shirley Jackson, Shirley Jackson, A Rather Haunted Life by Ruth Franklin. So yay, that is everything. And oh my gosh, I have no idea how long this was, but I have a feeling it was very long, and I'm glad that it's done, and you're probably glad that it's done. And if you would like to see that video next week of the readathon that our family is going to be doing, my daughter won't be doing it. She'll be painting, she'll be readathoning, she'll be artathoning, she'll be doing a lot of artwork and Play-Doh-athoning while we're doing that. So we're going to make sure she has fun activities that she can do while we are all sitting next to her reading. And yeah, so I'm gonna go reorganize all this, put all my stash up, and then I'm going to jump into the next book that I'm reading. Maybe, I was gonna say take a bath, but it's really too hot to take a bath. Anyways, stop rambling. Until next time, I hope you have a great week and that you get to do all the things you love. Okay, bye guys.